The truth sets you free. With the world's fastest reader, Howard Stephen Berg. Hey everyone, Howard Berg, world's fastest reader. Thanks so much for tuning in. We have a tremendous show today you're going to really enjoy. And I'd like to begin by thanking our sponsor, which is the Hillcrest Baptist Church Sunday School at 265 West Pleasant Run Road in Cedar Hill. And you have the phone number. You may want to write that down. And of course, we're looking at Dr. Cowan's Journey Through the Bible class that's on Sundays. It's not just for youngsters, it's for adults as well. And she provides in-depth study of books of the Bible, searching for theological meaning with practical application for daily living. And she does provide teacher notes. And I've gotten to be good friends with her over the years, and looking forward to having you take one of her classes as well. Well, today what I'd like to do to begin with is give you a quick lesson on basically how to get a little bit smarter. So if you could put that, thank you. One of the biggest questions I always get is, what is learning? And you know, when you ask an average person, did you study? They'll say yes. You say, how do you know? They say, well, I read 500 pages, or I studied for 6 hours. I want you to know that's irrelevant. So what is learning? Learning is understanding the meaning and significance of what you learn, and more important, it's being able to recall and apply what you read when you need to use it. That's the key. It isn't about the number of pages, and it isn't about how long, but what can you actually do with the information? So why do we read so slowly? A lot of times people will ask me about that because I teach the reading program, and say, why do we read slowly? And I say, well, why is reading the road easier than reading a book? When we're reading the road where I live, we're driving 70 miles an hour, and we only read a book at about 200 words a minute, which is the average reading speed. Next slide. When we're driving, we're multitasking. We're thinking in 4 directions, front, back, left, and right, all at the same time. Next slide. Can you change the slide, please? And we're bored, so we listen to the radio, talk on the phone, and we talk to passengers. Next slide. When we read, it's just one direction. The book's right in front of us. But talking on the phone is easier than driving the car. Why? It actually should be harder. Next slide. You need to understand the brain and how it processes text. Next slide. We start by reading letters one at a time. D-O-G. Now, where I grew up in Brooklyn, we pronounce the word correctly. It's dog. Dog. That's the correct pronunciation. In Dallas, they call it a dog. Whether it's a dog or a dog, something interesting's happened. We started by reading one letter at a time, and now we see words. Next slide. So we started with D-O-G, one letter at a time, and now we see the word dog, and we don't even see the letters. Next slide. When you go to the word hot dog, it's 2 words, but it's neither hot nor a dog, unless you use a literal translation. Your brain isn't seeing 2 words, it's seeing a food. Next slide. We're seeing a group of words, and can you see as we see bigger and bigger groupings, quicker and quicker, our reading speed would go up. Next slide. Like United States of America, you don't say it's too big, my head's going to explode. It's 4 words. Instead, next slide, you see it as one group as a single image. Next slide. We see and remember groups of words, like when we're looking at billboards, when we're driving in a car at high speed, and we learn and remember what they say. Next slide. So when we're in a car, we see everything like a movie, very visually. But when we're reading, next slide, we hear one word at a time. It seems like someone's speaking to us. Next slide. It's like there's a little person in back of our head speaking aloud, saying one word at a time, which is why so many people read at about the same speed that they speak. Next slide. And then they're reading it aloud to us one word at a time. That's how fast we're reading. Next slide. So what we're going to learn is, in my program, I teach people how to see a book. And instead of reading one word at a time, they're seeing it more like a movie, and immediately they go about 100% faster. And talking about going faster and being able to do more, and right now we see what we're doing when we're reading is we're using our eyes like they were ears. Instead of actually seeing, we're hearing information, and that's what slows us down. So we're going to teach you in the program how to see a movie in a book and only talk on things that matter, like who, what, where, when, why, and how. And speaking of things that matter, we have a terrific guest today, Luna Lee. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
She's got some very interesting things to talk about today about helping youngsters getting ready for college and things that every parent needs to know, and not at the last minute. Let's talk about that. You were telling me in the green room how people are often waiting to the very last minute when their kids are seniors to help them with college. What's wrong with that plan?
Well, I think number one thing is that a lot of families, going to college is a very important step. And so as parents, we spend 18 years of our lives preparing our kids to enter, college and, getting a good career, getting into the real world. But when it comes to college planning, parents don't even spend years to prep for the student. Most families wait till the summer before of senior year in high school to really start looking, researching what schools, what careers, what degree they want to get into. And by that time, it's way too late. It's kind of like, you want to be a doctor, but it takes 4 to 10 years of preparation. You can't do it, the semester before. So preparation is definitely key for college planning. It's not as hard as most families think. Definitely is a very tedious, a very time-consuming process, but if it's done early enough, it can be very smooth, the whole process.
Well, I read recently that in the job market today, only 1% of jobs since the recession started have gone to non-college grads. 99% of the jobs people are getting today are for college grads. So if people are wondering, does my son or daughter really need to go to college? I think that says it all. 99% of the jobs. I think another problem, and I was going to ask you about this, is people think the schools are going to solve their problem, and I haven't seen that. I know there's guidance people, but they really aren't. They got a lot of students to work with. And what could you say about their focus on one particular student, yours?
I think right now, most public schools, the counselor to student ratio, the suggested amount is about 250 to 1 is what's supposed to be. Most school districts, it's over 300 students to one counselor. And, bottom line is that these, schools need to get these children graduated. And the counselors, as much as they want to help the students, they don't have enough time to really sit down with each individual student and make sure that, are the applications in time? Are they submitted in time? Are the recommendations letters submitted in time? If you're a senior right now in high school and you're just now taking your SATs and ACTs, you're behind the game. Right now is basically crunch time. Usually the fall semester of senior year, you should already know what universities you want to go to. The financial aid, everything should already be prepared. Your essay should be pretty much in the final stages before, October, November, December hits. And so the counselors are not really, as much as they want to help, they're not there in terms of support. And now you rely on parents and students to really do the homework. And the problem is, as parents, the last time they went to college was probably 10 plus, 20 plus years, right? And so the whole process itself, the planning, what careers are offered is very different than the last 3 decades. What kids are going into today with technology changing, with the world evolving so fast, it's very important to prepare ahead of time. And some of the counselors have actually no idea, how to prepare for college. So I think at this point, it's something that you have to prepare yourself. As for me, our family, we're an immigrant family. My mom came over for a better opportunity for us. And, in my situation, I was the eldest one. And being the oldest one, having to figure out everything, it was very stressful. We encourage students that you want to, graduate in 4 years. And most children or college students these days graduate average 6 years.
Yeah, and it says it's going to take 8.
Now it's 6 to 8 because students are undecided. They're not planning. They're not maximizing their time while they're in college. Some of them don't want to get into student loan debt, so they pick up a full-time or a part-time job, so they end up becoming a part-time student. So instead of really concentrating on 4 years of college, they're spending 6 to 8 years. Some even never finish. And then they get themselves into massive amounts of college debt, and they never even come out with a degree that they want. So we're trying to, we're on the campaign trying to eliminate that and really help the new generation right now to focus on what exactly are they looking for in school, and possibly getting it to where they have mostly scholarships, right, and grants. And there's a lot of opportunity out there. You just have to know what direction to go and take.
So can you tell us a little about some of the things you do to help families and what they need to be doing?
Yes, so right now we're working with a nonprofit. It's a national nonprofit, and it's a coaching program. So a lot of time the students that come in, we encourage them already at a sophomore year to come in and work with these coaches.
So it's sophomore year, not the senior or the
No,
junior?
not the senior year. Junior year is okay, but it's already a little late. If they come in as a sophomore year, a lot of times the curriculum in high school, they can prepare for AP classes, or they can prepare for some college courses. So if they can knock down some of that workload before going into college, it's very helpful. That's why it's important to start early on. So what we do is we guide the students and the parents step by step as to what to do. They help with college planning, college essay editing, how to apply for different types of scholarships. A lot of times it's just the resources. You need to know where to go. But there's so much money out there nationally, locally and nationally, that students just don't know how to obtain it.
And you don't have to be exceptionally bright, or some people think of a scholarship, you got to be a genius or very talented at sports, and that really isn't the case, is it?
Yes, that I have to agree, Howard, is they have a misperception that you have to be a straight A student, or you have to be,
football star
to get scholarship, and that's not the case. Last year we worked with several students, and just to kind of give you an idea, we had some students that came from out of country. They've only been in the U.S. for about 2 years, and the parents had no idea how to plan for college. And the students' grades were good, but they were not, it's not like she was top 10 in her class. And through that, we were able to get her a local university here with a presidential scholarship. And
Nice.
Never expected that, but definitely you don't need to be 4.0 student or some kind of athletic star to be able to obtain some form of scholarship. Even for myself, at my alma mater, I'm definitely not the smartest or #1 in the class, but I got over 70% funded for college. And it was because I, searched around for scholarships and asked around and got a lot of guidance and help.
When you talk about the application process, can you go through some of that? What should parents be looking at in terms of applications, and what should they expect to be confronted with when they start doing it?
Well, during the college application process, most of the applications open up summer before senior year. And the students should already know, honestly, what schools they want to get into. They need to look at the majors, the degrees. The college application itself can be a lot. It's really a lot of work for the students. But I think the few key points they need to look at is the deadlines are important, how much it costs, because each application there's a fee for each school.
How much is it?
Average, I would say around maybe $60 to $90 is usually the average per university.
So if you apply to 4 or 5 schools, you're talking about
Yeah,
$500-600.
$500-600. So this is something the parents should prepare ahead of time. The students need to know the deadlines. They need to know teacher recommendations. Those things you have to give the teachers in school ahead of time, because there's probably hundreds of other students that also want the same recommendation. Financial aid. I think a lot of times people think, well, my family, they make okay, decent money or decent income, and I'm not even going to spend time filling out the FAFSA form. So FAFSA is the free application, right, for
That's critical.
It's very
So it's
critical.
the single most important thing,
Yes.
that without that, you can't get anything. That they always ask, before they even give you a scholarship,
They always ask for that application.
always.
And that application actually reflects the previous income of the family. So if you start senior year and you're trying to adjust your income or trying to fix certain things in your your tax return, it's already too late. That's why they suggest to do it 2 years prior. And there's a lot of things that you can do on FAFSA that can really help you. And don't be ever, discouraged that, if I make this much income, I cannot apply. You should always apply. Even if the federal aid gives you $500 or $1,000, that's still free money out there that can help the student in whether it be tuition, books, or, room and board. So anything, that's the most important thing also, along with having the right guidance too in the college planning program. So
I was told a lot of it's counterintuitive. Like I know someone said their youngster was going into junior, senior year of high school, and they went to work, and they started earning some decent money to save for college. Well, because they had that income, they went on the FAFSA as income and counted against them.
Yes.
Because now they're going to say, well, for the next 4 years, they expect you to keep making that income, even though you're moving to another school in another place. So sometimes telling your child to go to work to help raise money for college can actually bite them.
Yes, yes. So you have to be very careful. And so I think most families I talk to, I recommend them, if you do not have someone to give you some financial advice, you should. 2 years prior to the student going to college, because you need to, there's certain things that you can, that the government looks at, like for example, includable assets and non-includable assets. So if a family understands on the financial perspective what they need to do, it can give their student more opportunity for scholarship and grants. But that comes with, many, many years of preparation. So you want to start ahead of time. And it's not difficult. I think you just need that encouragement and guidance, but I think that's the problem nowadays is most families will encourage the kids to go to college, but most of them are getting into too much debt. So we want to eliminate that and eventually get students where they can finish on time, right, and go to the college that they really want to go to, but also it's worth going to. Because someone like me, it took me 6 years to graduate undergrad. Why? Because I kept switching universities back and forth. And when you transfer like that, you waste time and you also waste a lot of money too at the same time. So we just want to be able to go out there and really help these students find the key points, what's necessary, and not waste time and really just, do what they need to do ahead of time.
I heard that a lot of parents, they'll take out a mortgage or a loan to help their kids with the money, and that's probably one of the worst strategies you can do. Am I correct?
Yes. I remember when I was in college, a lot of the children that were there, my peers, their parents would loan from their retirement funds to send them to school. And although they do it out of goodwill, what I don't think they realize is that it's going to affect the parents ultimately in the end. And there's definitely other ways to do it where they don't have to dig into the retirement. I've heard some cases where the parents say, well, if I fund it through my retirement accounts, my children will eventually retire me in the end.
Right.
And we just giggle, right? We don't know if the children will retire the parents.
They might live with them to their 40.
Yeah, maybe, yes. But definitely, I think that is something that might not be the best idea.
Not
right?
the best strategy.
Not the best
Someone
strategy.
told me like with a house loan, it counts as income against them on some of these some of the loan applications. Even though you just borrowed the money, but it's coming in as income. So now it adds to your existing income, and it looks like you're in a much higher income bracket than you actually are, because it isn't income, it's a loan, but it's judged as income. And it goes against them for the next 4 years for monies that they could receive. Have you seen that happen?
I think it depends case by case, depending on their financial situation. But that could be a possibility. You would have to really sit down with the family and see, what type of loan, what they did. But I think ultimately, before any parent makes any decision on college funding, if it's done right, and you do it ahead of time, you will not get yourself into that type of situation.
Interesting. Now, you talked about picking the right major. Can you give some strategies people watching right now might consider using to help them guide their child to a good choice versus, sometimes you graduate and then you find out there's an office of career placement the day before you leave, and there's one job for every 10,000 graduates in that field. It's probably a bad time to find that out. What can you tell the people watching to do before they even start school so they least go into a field where they have a reasonable expectation of getting work. What could they do?
There's a few things you can do. I encourage the students to really take a look at the Department of Labor and Statistics. You want to see your job outlook in the next 20 years. Will your career or degree, is there a need for it in the next 20 years? Because we did a search in Texas on electrical engineering and transportation engineering, and surprisingly, transportation engineering has over a 10% increase in job outlook just alone in the state of Texas. And also, where you're located around nationally is very important. So transportation engineering might be, I think, more opportunities in Texas versus somewhere like California. Right. So there's a lot of things that I think parents need to, do research ahead of time. There's a lot of majors and careers coming up in the next 10 to 20 years that we probably have never heard of.
Think of the internet. I mean, 20 years ago, who would have said SEO or learning how to make a website was a career?
Was a career, yeah, or web design. Back in the day, I would have never chosen web design as my career. I go with more traditional type majors like finance or marketing or economics. One of our students last year, she just got accepted into New York University, but a wonderful school, and one of her majors that the coaching program that we used through this nonprofit to help guide her was music technology. And I had no idea what music technology was, but in that field they get to help create music for movies, any type of broadcasting. They put together CDs. It's very different than what I think more traditional sense of music. We think music producer, we think we have to be some famous
Beatles
or Beyonce or some kind of famous producer.
Justin Timberlake, yeah.
Absolutely, and that's not the case. In that music technology, in terms of growth in the next 20 years, is absolutely astounding. If you look at the numbers, there's so much opportunity for that. But there's only a few universities across the U.S. that offer a very good program.
So how would they find one? I know you mentioned the labor statistics. Is there a book you could recommend that might contain that information which people could be looking at, maybe at the local library or at the college library?
Not particularly a book. This information's public on the web, so you're able to go on the web and really look at that. We use a program called Cooter, actually, that helps us narrow down the percentage increase on employment. But if there's anyone out there that wants to know more, you're always more than welcome to contact us, and we can
have your
find
number
out.
On there. Yeah.
Yes. So my number and contact is on there. So feel free to contact us, and we'd be able to help you with that research. And the nonprofit that we work with is based out in Aurora, Colorado. And
very nice.
Yes, in that area.
You mentioned the essay, and I thought we might discuss that a little. It's a very, very important part of the selection. What do parents need to know about the creation of the essay and what they can do to help make sure their child nails that part of their application?
The essay. So the essay part, basically to sum it up, is very important to the college application. That is your time to shine and to let someone who's reading it on the other side understand who you are as a person. What has shaped you to become the person you are today. Why would you want? What can you bring to the table to this university? They're looking for students not necessarily with the best grades. That's just only one part of college and going to school. But they want someone who's going to bring a creative side, someone who's outside of the box. Not your norm. And that college essay, I hate to say it, but that's one of the things that will either they'll like it or they won't. They won't continue.
Is it like a bio? It's like what I've done and what I want to do? Or is it more than that?
It's definitely more than that. Sometimes they give you a plot or they give you like one sentence and you have to elaborate and describe yourself. And so you only have those few opportunities to really show them, who you are, why are you the person you are today, and what can you contribute to that university. So it's very, very important, right?
Is there anything people can do to make it go more smoothly, or is that part of what you counsel them on?
Yes, I myself am not the person who edits those essays, but I think you can do it on your own. I think that's a possibility, but I think most of the time you need to find somebody, any type of program out there that's going to guide these students, and really someone who's very experienced. Remember, us as parents and students, either you've never done this process before, or the last time you did it was over 10, 20 years ago. You need to find someone who's current, up to date, that's going to guide these students and do the right thing. So that's, I think, my best advice. Parents spend hundreds and thousands of dollars in college, but why not invest a little bit of time here?
Well, just sum up a little bit about how people can reach you and some of the things that you can help them with, so they can reach out and make sure their child gets the best. And some of you may have a relative that needs this. It may not just be for your child. So give them a little.
You know, we work with a national nonprofit. It's a 501c3. It's a wonderful program. The coaches in the program are, you know, they've been 20, 30 plus years in this industry, and their, you know, whole purpose, they're advocates for the parents and the children to really help them attain a college education, and at the lowest cost for them too, right? Not having to put themselves in too much debt. So that's our mission. We just want to be able to outreach as many families as possible. So my contact number is below, and, you know, feel free to reach us at any time if there's something we can do to help. If not, we'll definitely point you in that direction that we can guide you through this whole process. But it should be a very fun process, and that's what I want to remind all the families, that college is an exciting time, and it's a wonderful time, but also, you know, if you do it the right way with enough time for preparation, it'd be great.
Speaking of college, if you'd like to reach me, can you put my information up? We have a website which you can go. I have some resources, HBspeedreading.com, where I can help double the rate at which your student learns, so they don't just go to college, but they finish. We call it tuition insurance. And unlike a lot of people, when you get my programs, I personally will mentor them. I give you my cell phone, and I encourage you to call me if you need help. I want to make sure, like Luna, that your student's a success, and you're a success. You could also call me at 214-952-9150. That's actually my cell phone. It's not an assistant. It's me personally. 214-952-9150. If you have a question about helping your child, maybe you have a question about your business or your church or something you're trying to learn, I'll be more than happy to give you some time. You could also go to fromhoward.com/appointment and set up a complimentary appointment with me. Let me know what's going on with you educationally, with your kids, and I will more than gladly volunteer to help you to make sure that you're a success and that your students are a success. Well, we're almost out of time, so remember to write down HBspeedreading.com. It's HBspeedreading.com. My email is mrreader@msn.com, and my cell phone, 214-952-9150. Well, we're at the end of another show. We're always having fun. So until next time, this is HBerg, the world's fastest reader, wishing you and yours the best of success. See you next time. The truth sets you free. With the world's fastest reader, HBerg.